My family's trying to convince me to give my wedding dress to my bratty little stepsister, and now they might not even come to the wedding. For some context, when I was in middle school, my parents got divorced, and my dad got remarried to my stepmom, and with her came my terrible bratty little stepsister. My stepsister, let's call her Sydney, is fully 7 years younger than me, but that's not the reason that we're not close. The reason we're not close is because she's a horrible person. This girl had a habit of not just stealing my things, but ruining them. Anytime I got new clothes, immediately she'd steal them out of my closet and spill something all over it. And I know it was on purpose because there's no way that you were ruining everything. She would also always break things or ruin things in the house and blame it on me. And my dad and my stepmom would always believe her because she was the baby. Overall, she's just a spoiled brat, and I do my best to avoid her. I have to see her on family holidays, but that's about as much as I can take. About a year ago, I got engaged to my long-term boyfriend, which was so exciting, and we decided to have a long engagement so that we could save up for the wedding. But since I was little, I knew that I wanted to wear my mom's wedding dress on my wedding. I think it's the most absolutely beautiful, perfect dress in the world, and it fits me. People say it's bad luck to wear it because my parents got divorced, but I don't care, okay? I love that dress. About a month ago, my fiance and I go to family dinner, and it's the first time that I've seen Sydney in literally months, and she's there with her new boyfriend. Didn't even know she was dating anyone. And in the middle of dinner, she stands up and says that she has an announcement and that her and her boyfriend are engaged. I think they've been together maybe 2 months at that point, but you know what? Truly, I didn't care. It's none of my business. Do whatever you want. They did both just turn 21, so that's a little concerning, but you know, again, none of my business. I was expecting that my dad and my stepmom may not be happy about this, considering their age and the fact that they literally just met, but no. They were both ecstatic. I was shocked, actually. My fiance and I were looking at each other like, is this a prank? And as everyone is celebrating, Sydney turns to me and goes, Kels, I know exactly what you can get me for my wedding. Like, I didn't know we were already thinking about wedding gifts, but okay, I was like, sure. What do you want? She's like, I would absolutely love it if I could wear your mom's wedding dress on my wedding. I'm sorry, what? My mistake was the last time I saw her, I showed her a photo of my wedding dress. Because she asked. I was trying to be nice. I should have known that she would pull something like this. I'm sitting there looking absolutely horrified, and she just continues. She's like, yeah, we're actually not planning to get married until after you anyway, so you'll already be done with the dress. You don't even need it, and then I won't have to buy my own dress because we are on a tight budget. Yeah, you're 21 years old. Neither of you even have jobs. I don't even pretend like I'm considering this question. I'm like, yeah, that's absolutely not gonna happen, but appreciate you asking. Okay, let's get back to dinner. And she just looks shocked. She's shocked that I said no. She looks at me like I am the worst person in the world. She's like, why not? Like, what is even your reasoning for being so selfish? Selfish? Okay, we're gonna talk about selfish. We should just go back to our childhoods. I told her, I'm pretty sure this is self-explanatory to everyone, but one, it's my mom's, so it's sentimental. Two, you literally ruined every article of clothing that you took from me when we were growing up, and I'm not having you ruin my wedding dress. And three, I just don't want you wearing it. It's my wedding dress, and I don't want you wearing the same thing as me. Sorry. Sydney has not been told no a day in her entire life. So what does she do? She has a full-blown mental breakdown at this dinner. I'm just staring at her in shock. My fiance has no idea what to do. And her mom and my dad are just trying to comfort her. Crazy for me to assume that everyone was going to be on my side here because obviously they weren't. Because my dad looks at me and goes, Kels, what are you doing? You're being so selfish. Just let her wear the dress. You're already going to have worn it. That's when Sydney has the audacity to say to me, you know what? That dress is just as important to me because it was worn on our dad's wedding day. So I have just as much of a right to wear it. Sorry, his wedding day to my mom. You've met my mom like 4 times, maybe ever. Immediately, I look at my fiance. I'm like, yeah, we got to get out of here. But ever since I walked out of that house, I have been getting nonstop calls from my dad and my stepmom saying that I need to let Sydney wear the dress. Basically telling me that I am the worst person because I am so selfish and not letting her have the one thing she asked of me for her wedding. Okay, the one thing she asked of me was a very unreasonable request. I'm sorry, I'm just not gonna do it. But yesterday, my dad called me and told me that if I don't let Sydney wear my wedding dress, then he's not gonna come to my wedding and he's not gonna walk me down the aisle. I have no idea what to do because I know I'm fully right in this situation and this is actually insane, but I don't want my dad not coming to my wedding.
Okay, freaking story time. So before I had the job that I have now, I worked at a spice shop that was in like a little outdoor mall. Okay, and next to the spice shop that I worked at, there was an ice cream store and a pet store. at the ice cream store was the only emo guy I have ever seen in my very small town. Okay, like this is a big deal. So obviously whenever he was working, I would go in the ice cream shop and I'd be like, hi, because I want emo friends. Like obviously like I need that. Like I needed that. Okay. So I would talk to him like all the time. I had never really gone in the pet store. One day I go in the pet store because I want to buy my dog a cute little t-shirt, like God forbid. So I go in and there's this other guy working there who looks like he's like emo adjacent, but like more leaning towards like opium vibes before opium was like a popular thing. Like it wasn't on purpose. It was opium on accident, which is not a good look. And so I go in and I'm like, okay, where are the dog t-shirts? Like I have no idea. So I turn and I ask and I'm like, hey, I'm just looking for like a t-shirt for my dog. And he was like, okay, where is the hostility coming from? Like, what did I do to deserve that? So I'm like, oh, maybe it's just like his tone of voice. So I was like, I was just wondering if you like knew where they were or like if you could point me to like where they are. And he was like, yeah, I know where they are. They're over there. And like looks down just to not look at me. And I was like, sorry, where? And he was like, there, and pointed again. And I was like, okay. So I go and pretend to look at these t-shirts because I'm not buying anything from here. And then I'm like, okay, thanks anyway, and walk out. He doesn't say anything to me. Like, no, have a good one. No retail, nothing. Like, not even his script, bro. So I'm like, okay, like, whatever. So then I continue going in the ice cream shop and like being friends with this guy that works there. And we would just talk about like normal stuff. It was never anything that was like more than like people who work near each other. Like we never hung out outside of work. We never got each other's socials. Like it was just like, oh, cool person, like works next to me. We can chill, we can vibe, we can talk. And like, if you work in a mall or if you've ever worked in a mall, you know that everyone talks about everyone. So we would like gossip about the regulars and like stuff like that. It was just fun and it was nice to have like a friend with like similar interests. So after talking to this guy for a while, I bring up pet store guy and I'm like, hey, have you ever been like in that pet store? And he looks kind of scared and he was like, yeah, why? And I was like, well, just like one of the guys who works there was kind of like really weird to me. And he was like, weird how? And he got like really attentive and alert. And I was like, he just like, it wasn't like he said anything specific. Like it was just like a weird vibe. And I didn't love like the way he was talking to me basically. And he was like, okay, just like, honestly, if he's working there, just don't go in. And I was like thinking, oh, he probably just is like looking out for me. Like he heard that I had a weird experience. So he's like, yeah, just don't worry about that guy. Like don't go in there if he's in there, if he was weird to you. Like that's what I thought that was. So then fast forward, I'm in the ice cream shop, and as we're talking, this guy from the pet store, like, walks past, looks in, and mean mugs ice cream guy. And I was like, whoa. So then I was like, what was that about? And he's like, you can't really talk about it. And I was like, okay. And he, like, leaned in, and he was like, okay, basically, that guy has, like, a really weird crush on me, and I've been trying to avoid him because he's not really my type, but he just like keeps talking to me. And last time he came in, he was talking about you and saying how I had a thing with you. And I was like, but we don't. Like, we don't even talk outside of work. He was like, yeah, that's what I told him, but he doesn't believe me. And he keeps like talking about it and saying weird stuff about you. And I just really need you to avoid him. And I was like, okay. And now I'm freaked out because like, I don't want to be in this drama. There's no reason I should be, but I was anyway. And then I go back to doing my thing at work. I try to avoid pet store guy. Like, I'm just like living my life day by day. Eventually I forget about it. And then the boss for the ice cream store, like, by the way, since I worked at a spice shop, he would come in sometimes to get spices to like experiment. He came in for poppy seeds. So I was like, what are these for? And he was like, you'll figure it out soon. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I go in because I'm like, there has to be a lemon poppy seed ice cream. Like, I'm so excited. So I go in and I'm asking about it, and the guy walks past again, comes in, and is like, what are you two lovebirds talking about? And I'm thinking like, he must be joking. Like, I'm like, okay, like I'm like 16 and dumb. And I'm like, oh, not much. Like, what are you up to? And he looks at me like he wants to like, okay, like it was scary. And then fast forward. Okay, I don't worry about this. I don't think about this. I ended up leaving that job, like no big deal. I get a text from Ice Cream Guy because when I left the job, I gave him my number because I was like, yeah, like we should keep in touch. And we haven't talked to each other like since then. Thank God I still have the same number. I get a text from Ice Cream Guy, and he's like, you will not believe what that guy tried to do. And I was like, what? And he told me that Pet Store Guy found him and his current boyfriend after they moved states away and tried to... I'm 20 now. This was 4 years ago. And he told me that, like, since that time, there's been like no contact between them. Like, he quit that job, he moved in with his BF, like nothing. He found him and tried to him.
Storytime how I got arrested at 11 years old. So this all happened in 6th grade. It was about November, and there was a threat that someone was going to pew pew the school, if you know what I mean. So, as I heard, me and my friends went to the office and reported it, and we were like, hey, I heard someone's gonna pew pew the school on Friday at like, I don't know, sometime. And I went home and I was like, Mom, someone's gonna pew pew the school. And she was like, it's fine, Keely, don't worry about it. And I was like, girl, I was worried. I was like, Mom, I'm not going to school. I was like, I don't want my friends going to school and they're gonna get pew pewed up because, like, hello? This was also like 2 years ago. And so I posted on Snapchat and I was like, guys, don't go to school on Friday. You're going to get pew pewed up in the school and everyone's going to die. I didn't say that, but I was just like, don't go to school on Friday at 12:30. Someone's going to show up at school. Good luck, y'all. I probably shouldn't have added that good luck part because that, when I said good luck, it sounded like I was trying to pew pew up to school, but I was not trying to pew pew up to school. In no way was that my intentions. I was trying to protect and warn my friends that there was going to be at my school. Mind you, I was 11 years old. Like, I'm sorry, like, hello? And I have good grades. I'm not a bad student. Like, okay, so this was on a Wednesday, okay? And then that following day was a Thursday, and I was in first period, okay? And mind you, this lady, I've already had problems with her once. I got bullied at the beginning of the year, and she didn't take my side. Whatever. That's another short time. If y'all want to hear that, I can give that to y'all. But she came waddling into my first period, and she was like, Keely, get your stuff. You're coming with me. And I was like, who does this lady think she is? And mind you, we were allowed to be on our phones in that class. And my phone was like laying on the desk or whatever. And she said, is this yours? And I was like, yeah. And homegirl snatched my phone. She picked it up and she started walking with, I was like, whoa, slow down, hon. I was like, am I in trouble? Because I didn't know what was going on. I was 11. Mind you, I was 11 years old. Okay. And then she took me into her office and she was like, Keely, what's your story about? And I was like, girl, what story? Because I deleted it because people were like, they might think that of something else. And I was like, okay, I'll just delete it. Anyways, but I was like, what story I deleted? All my stories, like, there was nothing on there. And then I was like, oh, about the school shooting? She's like, yeah, tell me about that. So she made me write a statement and stuff. And I was just like, I was literally just trying to protect my friends. Okay, and I started crying because I don't get in trouble. Like, I just literally don't. And that was like the first time I ever got in trouble, and that was the beginning of 6th grade. Like, I was an innocent little girl. It was literally in October. So I started crying, and she was like, oh, well, it sounded like you made the threat. And I was like, girl, okay. So after that, I was in her office for about an hour, and she was like, well, you can write a statement, and then we're gonna read it over, and we can see if we can get your mom involved or the cops. And I was like, well, the cops, hold on, pause. We don't need to get the cops involved. I was trying to protect my friends. Why are we getting the cops involved? Why are we getting the cops involved? And she was like, come, girl. So I was there till like, I think it was like 10, yeah. I was in there from like 8 to 10, just sitting there. And they moved me to this other room with the door open, or no, first the door was closed. And I just like heard people walking by. And then I heard my mom's voice. And then I got so scared, I was shivering in my boots. I started crying even more. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Because no one was telling me nothing. And then I see a cop. I was like, what? And then I see my mom. I was like, bro, what is going on? I was like, I didn't do nothing. Like, I've done 0 things. And the cops were like, come with me, Keely. And I was like, what did I do? Like, so I walked my big butt over there with them. And I was walking with my mom and the cops. And there was a cop and a detective, okay? And first of all, I didn't even know who this cop was. Anyways, I didn't know who this cop was. So that made me feel more nervous. And then the freaking detective, like, what? Okay, and it was the detective and my mom. And me and my mom were walking. And I was like, the whole time I was crying, I was like blowing my eyes. I was like, Mom, I didn't do anything. I didn't do nothing. I promise. Like, I didn't do anything. And then they got me to the cop car. And they're like, Keely, you're getting arrested for terroristic threat. What? Terroristic threat? When did I make a threat, honey? Okay, anyways, but they put me in the back of the cop car, and they're like, we're gonna handcuff you, but loosely. And I was like, handcuff me? What am I gonna do? Run away? Actually, hold on. Okay, but like still, and they handcuffed me, and I was like this. I was just sitting in the back of the cop car, and it was like a kind of long drive. Well, it actually wasn't, but it felt like a long drive. And I just I was bawling my eyes out. It was traumatizing. Like, I'm laughing about it right now, but if I could give a deeper detail, I'd be crying right now. Anyways, so they got me to the police station, and they had some lady. I don't know who she was. I mean, she was low-key nice, but I don't know who she was. I think she was like a juvenile detention officer or something like that. But they started asking me all these questions and stuff, and they were like, well, we can either send you home tonight, or we could take you to juvie. And I was like, girl, what? And they were like, take you to juvie for the night. And I was like, oh, there's no way I'm going to juvie. So they took my fingerprints. Oh, I forgot to mention that. They had me do like fingerprints on all my fingers. So I don't know. Anyways, so after that day, we were there for until 4 into the afternoon. It was so traumatizing. I was crying for literally a whole day. It was so bad. But then I had a 3-day suspension and LDMC. I wasn't too worried about the 3-day suspension, but we went to talk to the same lady that got me arrested, which I don't know why we just didn't go to the principal, because it wasn't even the principal, it was the assistant principal. Okay, and we talked to her 3 different times, explained my story, explained what I was thinking, explained all my feelings, and she was like, no, you're going to LDMC, I don't care. Which LDMC is our detention, if you get caught vaping or something, you go there or something like that. Or if you make a kid bleed in a fight or something, or if you bring a weapon to school, you go there. It's the alternative school. And they sent me there for 30 days. And most kids, when they go, they get halftime. I didn't get halftime. They thought I was a criminal. I didn't do anything. But they thought I was a whole criminal and stuff. And so we talked to that lady 3 different times. Okay, 3 times. 3. And they were like, okay, no. She wasn't giving me any grace. She was like, you're saying LDMC, I don't care. I'm sorry. Oh. So we went to talk to the principal, the actual principal, the person that runs the school. Okay, guess what she did? She took me out of LDMC because she was like, girl, you didn't even do anything. I literally did nothing. She was like, girl, you didn't do anything. You can get out of there. I'll get you out. You can go to school tomorrow. So the next day I was in school. Okay, and then this is where the story gets good. So after I was in school, I still had my charges and everything. I got charged with terroristic threat or whatever, and that was still on my record. So in my brain, I wasn't going to college. No, college was bye-bye down the drain. Right. But about a few days later, they called us to the juvenile detention center, and I explained my story. I explained my side, and they were like, yeah. And they took my thing to court, and they got it back, and they were like, okay, you didn't do anything. This was all unnecessary, and all your charges are dropped. So they put me through all of that trauma for 0 reason. So I had went through all of that, and I still had the trauma and all this stuff. It was for what? Just for me to get my charges dropped? So yeah, that's my story time on the last video. I can make so many other story times on 6th grade year because it was really the worst year of my life. And
story time about the most danger I felt being in a sorority. Okay, this is no hate to my sorority. I had the most fun in my sorority ever, but there was one night where I did feel like I was put in danger. So I'm sure you've seen the TikToks where everyone does holiday. Okay, it's a holiday blind date. And so in through the door walks your blind date, and then you go on a date with them, and it's supposed to raise money for our philanthropy. Okay, I was on the executive board at the time. I got to recommend who I wanted to go on a blind date with. Everyone did. It was in the Google form. You could put a guy that you were maybe talking to, or your boyfriend, or whatever. I was single at the time, so I just put one of my guy friends that was in another frat that I knew was doing it because he had signed up. So I'm going into the night, everyone's like, oh my god, I'm so nervous, I don't know who I'm gonna get, blah, blah, blah. But in the back of my head, I'm like, I know who I'm getting. So I'm not nervous at all. This is gonna be chill, we're friends, whatever, we'll go and get food and then whatever. And so all leading up, I'm like, okay, I'll go in one of the first 10 people to break the ice. And so they're like, and for Jersey, and then in walks a stranger. Okay, a guy I've never seen before, right? So I'm obviously shocked because I'm not preparing to see a stranger. I'm preparing to see my guy friend. So I'm like, hi, and we hug, whatever, go over to the side. And so I'm like, what do I say? What do I say? I'm not prepared to talk to a stranger. I'm prepared to talk to my guy friend. So I'm like, hi, like, my name's Jersey. What's your name? He says his name. And I'm like, oh, like, what fraternity are you in? Because it's like a Greek life event. So I felt like that was a good second question. And he's like, oh, I'm not in one. And so then I was like, and it wasn't that I'm not going to go on a date with a guy not in Greek life. It was like, it was a Greek life event. So I was like, how did you get on the Google form? Because you have to fill out like what Greek organization you're in. Anyway, so he's like, I'm not in one. Like, I just saw this advertised. And I was like, oh, okay. So in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, so this is a stranger, like, not in Greek life. He doesn't even go to SDSU, he tells me. So I'm like, oh, so this is just a stranger picking me up from this house. No, I have no background check, whatever. So I'm also a very paranoid person, so this is, like, scaring me. So we go, and he got me, like, a bouquet of flowers, very sweet. I mean, he didn't know who he was gonna pick up either, right? So we're in there, and so, I mean, bottom line, my guy friend just ditched the event. So, like, when they're like, oh, he's not here, okay, who wants to go next? And then just a random person stepped up. So it was kind of his fault, whatever. So then we're walking to his car, and his car's like 4 blocks away from the house. So I'm like, where are we going? So we're walking, and I'm just like, you know, I'm doing small talk, and I'm not nervous to talk to him. I'm nervous about, like, getting in the car with him, because I don't know who this is, but I don't want to be rude. And they pay to go on these holidays to raise money. So I was like, well, I have to go. Like, this is for, I can't be like, I'm uncomfortable, because, like, he paid to, like, do this. So I'm just, like, having this internal warfare while we're having this small talk conversation walking to the car. So I get in his car. Nice car, normal car, and he's like, oh yeah, like, I'm gonna surprise you with, like, the location. And I'm like, in the back of my head, just like any documentary I've seen, I was like, oh my god, do I jump out of the car? Do I jump out of the car? Like, I'm just being dramatic, okay? And then we go to this super nice restaurant. I don't know if anyone knows Bali High in San Diego. It's right in, like, the harbor, like, overlooking the water. He has, like, fully reservations, a really expensive dinner, okay? And so we get there, and we sit down, and he's staring at me like if I'm not talking, he's like, I don't know how to explain it. I think I was overthinking everything, because I'm like, this could be my last time, like, breathing. And I go to the bathroom, because I'm, like, shaking. Like, I'm, like, now in, like, panic attack mode, okay? Sorry. And I go to the bathroom, and I text all my friends, and I was like, I'm on this holiday, and it's going fine, but I'm really scared, because he's not in Greek life. I don't know who it is. Like, he could be lying about his name. Like, he doesn't go to SDSU. Like, I'm trying to give, like, warning signs of, like. So anyways, we go back, we eat, we're having a fine conversation. I'm just trying to, like, brush it off and be like, be nice, like, this is normal, you're freaking yourself out, blah, 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 blah. So we end, and he's like, do you want to go to dessert? And I was like, I'm so sorry, like, I have finals soon, and so, like, I have to get home because I have to study, like, but this was really nice, thank you so much. And he's like, oh, can I get your Snapchat? And I was like, sure. So I, like, put my Snapchat in, whatever, but I'm like, I'm not gonna add him back. It wasn't like I was trying to ghost him. I was just genuinely afraid, and it wasn't like, I feel really bad because it feels like I'm being a prude, but, like, I'm just paranoid, and I didn't know who it was. So, like, you know, when you go on a date, you can kind of, like, do a background check and look through their social media, whatever. This is someone who I'm seeing and then getting in their car. So it made me nervous. So anyways, we start driving home, and he's asking kind of more personal questions, you know. We, like, end up talking, like, about more deep stuff, and, like, we're about to near the exit, and we're still in, like, the far left lane. The exit's 4 lanes over. So I'm just like, he asks me a question, and I'm, like, frozen in fear that he's not getting off on the exit, because it's like in 200 feet. And I was like, the exit's right there. And he was like, did you think I wasn't gonna get off the exit? And for some reason, the way he said it threw me off. Like, it sounded scary. I was like, well, yeah, you weren't close to the right lane. Like, and then I got kind of, like, defensive. And again, I was probably just paranoid, but he was like, and he gets over 4 lanes, like, super sharp. I don't know if he was gonna, like, take me to his house, or I don't know, but I was like, yeah, take me home. When we get home, he leans in to, like, try to kiss me, and then I was like, oh, like, sorry, like, I don't do that on the first date. And then he was like, and then I just got out of the car and we said bye, and it was, like, super awkward, never added him back. But anyways, I just felt really, like, obviously nothing went actually wrong. I don't know if I would have not noticed that the exit was right there. I don't know, maybe if, you know, I never got, like, a drink, like, I don't know. And he could have just been, like, a nice guy, like, not, like, just in the area of San Diego being like, this is a way to meet a girl. But my paranoid mind, like, was so afraid. And I think about it to this day, like, you know, what if there was someone with ill intention there? Like, and then the girl just felt obligated to go on the date. No hate to Alfie. I love Alfie. But I was like, that was one of the scariest nights of my life, even though nothing went actually wrong.
Put a finger down if you thought you were going on your first ever brand trip with House of CB, but it turns out your boyfriend was actually proposing. So it all started 3 weeks ago. I got an email from a girl at a PR agency that I've worked with before, basically saying, hi Desi, House of CB would love to invite you to their summer party in the Cotswolds. There's going to be free food, there's going to be free drinks, we're going to pay for your first class tickets to take you to the venue, and we're also going to pay for accommodation in a lovely hotel in the Cotswolds, and we're going to gift you free dresses to wear on the day. I saw it and I was like, my first ever brand trip, I must be there. I had to be there. I was telling my family, I was telling my friends, I was telling my boyfriend. I was like, oh my gosh, guys, I'm going on my first ever brand trip with House CB. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, Destiny, well done. But little did I know, this was all part of a plan. So once I'd confirmed that I was happy to go on the trip, the agency sent me a link from House of CB saying, pick any dresses that you like. Me? I was thinking, how many times is House of CB going to tell you to get dresses for free? Best believe I looked for the most expensive dresses on that website and said, please, can I try this and this? I asked for two. I was just trying to be cheeky. I was just like, let me try my luck. I went for like a nice embellished dress, and then I went for like a light sheer flowy purple dress. And whilst I picked the dresses and I was trying them on, I was making content saying, this is why you need to post that content. This is your sign to post that content. I was recording that content not knowing that House of CB had never sent me those dresses. So fast forward to the day before the brand trip. I was talking to my boyfriend like, oh, I thought you were going to propose this weekend. He's like, oh, so sorry, there were things going on with the ring, but don't worry, it will happen. I was like, you know what? I'm never talking to you about this proposal again. I was so dramatic. I'm sorry. Anyway, the day of the brand trip arrives. I'm at home. I'm nervous because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my first ever brand trip. My mum was literally helping me tie the dress. And as my mum was helping me with the dress, she's like, I just pray for favor. We pray for divine opportunities. We pray that as you enter that room, people will give you opportunities. Not knowing that she was in on the plan. Anyway, so the agency had booked me first class train tickets to take me from Paddington Station all the way up to one village in the Cotswolds. I was super excited because I was like, guys, I'm going first class. This is beautiful. But I was shy. Let me tell you why. It was 11:30 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. Best believe that no one else was dressed in a ball gown like me. So I was literally wearing a jacket to cover myself. And I was like, oh, please don't look at me. Anyway, get to Paddington Station. I was hoping to see other girls in a few ball gowns. There was no girls to be seen. I was like, you know what? It's okay. I'll see you on the train. I get on the train. I'm looking around. And I'm like, there's no other content creators on this train. And my first thought was, oh, maybe House of CB booked for those girls to go in a special taxi. And they just said Adesi should get the train. My first thought was imposter syndrome rather than, oh, maybe this isn't a brand trip. Anyway, I arrive at the station in the Cotswolds. It's this quaint little village, and I get a message from the girl at the agency like, Adesi, your taxi's running a bit late, but let me know if you need anything. So I call her like, girl, I'm in heels. I'm walking around this town. I can't find this taxi. She's like, oh, don't worry. He's coming. He's on his way. As I'm walking around, people are saying, oh my gosh, you look stunning. You look so beautiful. And I was like, thank you. The taxi finally pulls up. I get in the taxi, put in my luggage, and he's like, oh, where are you going today? Are you going to a wedding? And I was like, no, I'm going for a work trip. He's like, oh, really? This venue, loads of weddings happen there. I was like, oh, okay, but I'm going to a work trip. He's like, all right, cool. And I was like, what the heck? Anyway, we drive through the middle of nowhere. You know, up those really narrow country roads where two cars can't go at the same time. We're basically going up one of those country roads. And I'm taking pictures and sending them to my family like, guys, oh, they're taking me to the bush. And I was like, wow, let us know. Keep us updated on the program. So we finally pull up to this really grand, like, manor house. And I'm like, wow, House of CB, this place is nice. So as I arrive, I get out the car, the taxi driver helps me with my suitcase, and I'm greeted by a lady who's like, oh, are you here for the summer party? I was like, yes. She's like, oh, let me take your bags and your coat and everything. So she takes my bag, she takes my coat, she takes my suitcase, and she tells me to go through the gate. I basically go through the gate now, and I enter into this beautiful garden. I look around and I'm smiling, and I see two people. I see a videographer and I see a photographer. Bearing in mind, these two people are my friends. They're two Black women who are extremely good at what they do. So my first thought was like, oh my gosh, House of CB has hired two Black girls. Yes, diversity. They were like, shh. I was like, oh my gosh, sorry, you guys are working. Shh, sorry. What's happening? So I'm just smiling, thinking that they're trying to get content and I'm not trying to ruin the content for them. At that point, I just pan and I look down. At the bottom of the stairs, I see my boyfriend. He is surrounded by rose petals everywhere. There's massive flower arrangements surrounding next to him. There's a beautiful like blue lake in front of him. He's standing under a pavilion. And at that point, my mouth dropped, my jaw dropped because I could not believe that I was at my own proposal. I screamed. I screamed. I was in so much shock. I literally go down the stairs, I'm weeping, and he's like, hi. And I was like, oh my gosh. Proposal happened. I got engaged. I saw the ring. I was like, oh, Lord. I was so happy. I had to chuck off those old cheap Primark rings I was wearing, and I had to make space for the new one. It was so wonderful, so beautiful. I'm so happy.